Díobh agus fáilte go dtí Podchraoladh le Cynthia. And this is going to be a great one because I'm in the company of artists and in particular crafters, craftspeople. And I have to say I couldn't be in better company, and I'm delighted also to be joined by Emily Keane, APA, which is an assistant in my office, and she is going to do this interview with me, I'm delighted to say. So at some point you'll be hearing the lovely dulcet tones of Emily, but for the moment I am delighted to introduce my three guests, and they're going to put their pitch forward as to who they are and what they are for 30 seconds, and we're going to start with Madina Benvenutti.
Thank you, Cynthia. Very nice to be here. Madina Benvenutti. I am Managing Director of Made in Europe, a small company based in Brussels, which is engaged in the valorization and promotion of craftspeople. We have a platform with more than 1,600 craftspeople from all over Europe, and we decided when we created Made in Europe that we wanted to address the craft sector at a European level, so to be transversal, to show the diversity, the richness and the importance of European crafts professions.
And the dynamism. And I have to say, you epitomise the dynamism. More from you now, Anon. I want to introduce our second guest, who is Audrey Aubard. Audrey.
Hi, Cynthia. Hi, everyone. I'm Audrey Aubard. I'm coming from France. I'm the General Secretary of the FIGIA, which is the French Federation of Craft and Industrial Geographical Indications. We represent 90% of the GIs already recognized in France.
And GI is a bit of a mouthful for people who are just tuning into it the first time, but it's important that we have geographical indication for our craft. I think people know about geographical indication when it comes to cheese or champagne, or when it comes to Guinness or something else, you know, food and the agri sector and so forth. But this is about the craft sector and about getting recognition and nobody plagiarising it, copying it for cheaper versions. All the way from Cundy an Chlár, 6 Mile Bridge, who would have thought it? A fabulous wood turner, although that's going to do you a disservice because you do more than turning wood now. There's far more involved. I want to say that you're an artist who uses wood primarily, but it's Hugh Roche-Kelly.
Hi, yes, thank you, Cynthia. So I'm Hugh Roche-Kelly, indeed from County Clare, but now based in Brussels. So I'm an independent wood turner or wood artist, if you prefer. And I'm also the head of workshop at the Sunny and Wood Cooperative. So we're a high-end furniture workshop that's based here in Brussels. Our particularity is that we only use wood that comes from the city. So in Brussels we have a massive hardwood forest, very local to here, and we use this heritage wood to make crafted pieces, whether that's by me or by the cooperative, is more furniture and bespoke pieces.
It's fabulous. And you do workshops.
We do some workshops, yes, more informal, formal transmission of wood turning and skills like that.
And
so
you have a background in theatre.
So my career started in Ireland actually as technical director for theatre and performing arts. So I was tech director of the Dublin Fringe Festival for a while. I worked in the Abbey. I toured with a lot of Irish companies like Pan Theatre Company and went all over the world with them. Continued that when I moved to Belgium for a couple of years. Worked with some pretty big Belgian artists, and eventually started gravitating more towards the workshop end, creating things that last a bit longer than a single night performance, and found my little niche here in Brussels since.
I love that thought, lasting longer than, you know, a one night performance or a run of a play. I'm sure Emily will pick up on that when I just drift away for another little meeting. But it's a wonderful journey. Your story was fascinating, and the reason why I know your story is because we've just come out of this fantastic event, which Madina is going to describe to us now, because you were the brainchild behind all of it.
Thank you very much. Yes, in fact, Made in Europe is part of a European project funded by the Horizon program, Craft, and together with the Craft partners and the partners of 5 other projects, we joined our forces into a common initiative called also a cluster for some, but I like to say that it is an initiative where we all together gather our knowledge, evidences that we may have found across our projects to advocate in favor of the revitalization of the craft sector across Europe. So we are very happy because we had the opportunity to present a recommendation at the European Commission on the 10th of November December, sorry. And now we are again here in the European Parliament addressing policymakers. So we are very, very positive, and we hope that there will be engagement from policymakers, because this is really important for European competitiveness.
Thanks, Madina. And can you tell us a bit about the policy recommendations that came out of the Craft Tour project?
Yes, it's important first to know, but that it was difficult to organize 75 partners from 21 countries all over Europe. And in 1 year, so we decided to work on 4 main objectives. It doesn't mean that there aren't others, but the main objective that we wanted to address are well, this needs a little bit of explanation. The European sector is very fragmented. Each European country, region, and little area, they have different ways to count, to classify, to define crafts. And if you take this at a European level, it's a big mosaic of definitions, of classifications, of approaches. So it is impossible today to know at a European level how many craftspeople, for example, in the wood sector will retire in the next 20 years, so that it is important to train new generation and engage new generation. We have no mapping of training, no mapping of existing businesses, no mapping of the impact on the economy. So no measurable data, there are no statistics. So first objective for us is to address this point. Let's try to have a common ontology, a system to classify crafts, and we work with our researchers. Luckily, in the Craft Tour initiative, we have researchers, computer science specialists, and people who are bringing this knowledge, which we don't have. So we could together work on a kind of ontology. It's not done, of course, but this is an approach that could help to measure that at a European level, so that then we can further provide recommendation for constructive actions to be done according to the needs that we identify. So far, we don't know. There are endangered crafts. There are crafts that represent that are required, but there are fewer and fewer craftspeople to cover these needs. We had today the meeting with the president of the European Historic Houses Association, and he said there is a shortage of professions in their area. There are, I don't know how many, but I think that he said 50,000 houses they represent all over Europe, which are mostly in rural areas. And the owners of this historic building don't find craftspeople for roofing, for flooring, for stucco, for mosaics, for stone cutting. They are not there anymore. And this we know because we are in touch with them every day. We know that most of them are so full of work, they don't take any more orders, they cannot face new clients, and they don't find people to hire. So many of these professionals just cannot accept new orders because they cannot just afford them. They cannot cover the demand.
Yeah, or maybe people don't know where to find them when they're looking for them as well.
Because they are not so many, you don't know where to find. We took this example of thatched roofs. It's very hard to find. However, we still have buildings with thatched roofs, and if we don't find the people who can repair them, then the roofs will be replaced by tiles, and it's not the same thing, of course.
Yeah. And so from a consumer perspective, it's helpful to have a kind of database or an agreed upon place where you can go and look for all of these, vitally important heritage crafts, or even, crafts that have been maybe adapting to modern practices. But I mean, from a policymaker's perspective, from Cynthia's perspective, why are you in the Parliament telling policymakers about it?
Yes, because we need the Parliament and the Commission to support this objective. We think that, our dream would be to have a European observatory of crafts, an organization, an entity in Brussels that is monitoring the craft sector with the contribution of local players, up to to the craftspeople. So we advocate for a bottom-up approach where craftspeople are directly involved, because this is why we invited craftspeople today as panelists, because we need their knowledge. We need to know how, on a day-to-day basis, they work, what they are struggling with, what they need, apprentices, tools, less rules. Without them, we cannot do anything. It doesn't make any sense. So an observatory here in Brussels or wherever, but that is covering monitoring at a European level with a bottom-up approach, that would very much contribute to empowering skills transmission, to empowering protection, to empowering funding where it is necessary, to optimize funding schemes, etc., etc. So this is why we are here. We have to organize this at a European level.
Yeah. And then Audrey and Hugh, maybe you can chime in a bit more on what is actually needed. What are the challenges of working in the craft sector? Audrey, in your consultancy work, what are the businesses saying to you about the supports that they need, from this level?
Yes, I mean that. Well, I totally agree with what you said, and I think we are suffering from. Something very bad is the craft had a bad vision. During my generation, when you failed at school, you did craft, And I think we're also suffering from the skills, etc., because working on crafts, it's because you failed. You didn't have an intellectual occupation, and not having an intellectual occupation, so you have a bad occupation. So I think we need to shift this mindset into a more positive vision of craft occupation, and being more engaging towards the young people in schools as well. So I think this is my small message on this topic. But maybe you want me to come back on GIs or not yet?
Oh yeah, we'll come back to you in a second. But maybe Hugh, maybe you could.
Yeah, I suppose
chime in.
As a micro enterprise in terms of a small artisan doing their thing, there's a big differences between different localities. One of the first things that comes to mind is stuff like the VAT threshold in Belgium is much lower than it is, for example, in Ireland. And for someone like me, if I suddenly have to go have a VAT accountant and deal with 20% of the prices I'm charging clients basically disappearing, and that administrative load, stuff like that can really kill the idea of, I have this craft, I do this, and then doing it as a business, I suddenly have to compete with a huge organization, a huge industrial thing that's got teams and teams of people. One person has to be a team in a lot of these organizations, and it's often not that local powers aren't receptive to these small enterprises or small supports. I've had small from one perspective, but to me very significant support from the equivalent of a local chamber of commerce here in Brussels. For them it was minuscule. For me it was really foundational. There's an opening for that kind of thing, but often the structures that are there are much more focused on a huge organization. I've been asked for what's my HR contact? I was like, oh, that's also me. And my administrative person, that's also me. And when
jack of all trades.
Well, it's a jack of all trades, and there's a huge box, and you're this speck of dust in the middle of it. It's very hard to get through those kind of processes. Yeah,
definitely. And maybe then just picking up on something that Audrey said, how do in schools, if you couldn't do your leaving cert, for example, in Ireland, or if you didn't adapt to that kind of learning model, you maybe did an apprenticeship, or maybe you went into crafts as kind of a backup or something like that. Maybe you can talk a bit about how you kind of came to crafts. I know it wasn't in Ireland, it was kind of after you moved to Brussels.
Yeah, so it was, as Audrey says, at school, it was never even presented as an option.
Yeah.
Working with wood in the school I was in was really like an after-school club that you maybe got put in to keep you out of trouble. And I actually found at home recently, on a recent visit, I found one of the things that I made in that club, I think 25, 27 years ago. And it's awful, it's a terrible piece of work. And it's not like I can hold that up and go, this is where my journey began. Not at all. It was a much later thing in life for me. And I think there is a certain amount of flexibility in in the craft world or the universe of learning crafts, I think it does allow for being converted into it later in life. You still have to put the time in, you still have to put the work in to learn it. But I do recall at some point considering really retraining from what I was doing as a cultural worker. I considered architecture, I considered a lot of things, and that wasn't an option because I can't do an 8-year university course when I'm already in my 30s. I mean, I could, but I wasn't in a position to support that family-wise and stuff like that. So coming into the crafts and finding a passion for it and being able to have access to space to practice it, this is a huge thing. And it's a big problem also in Ireland, and cultural spaces are often disappearing as soon as they become established, and especially in Dublin, there's a massive pressure on space, on real estate, and we don't need much. We can really work in pretty bad conditions in buildings.
Yeah.
That's fine for us. What we just need is the space so we can feel comfortable in, and
Maybe
not even comfortable in, that we can
predictability
even
of
feel
it.
uncomfortable in, but somewhere where we can really build something and have space for tools, machinery. Not every craft practice is a little desk in the basement, you know.
Yeah.
I get trees delivered to my workshop. It takes space. It takes that kind of possibility.
Yeah, for sure. And then if you said that you found it kind of a more accessible option when you were looking to change careers because it didn't require years of university. But, you know, if it is accessible, then we need to maybe make it more visible. I mean, I know that we're kind of facing a generational renewal problem in craft, like we are in like the farming sector in Ireland as well. So maybe, Madina, what can be done to kind of combat that side of
Actually,
things?
first it's important to be aware that there is a problem among young youth, because that's not so evident, and we know now. It's true what Audrey was saying. I would like to repeat something that we heard during the conference today, because I found this absolutely great. One of the craftspeople in the panel, she's a woman, she's a roofer, and she's the president of a Heritage Crafts Association. And she was addressing the audience, and in the audience, I have to precise that there were a lot of people from universities, because our partners in Craft Tour, there are many universities. She addressed them saying, you know, we are much more intelligent than you, because we use the head and the hands. You just use the head. So I found that absolutely was fantastic. But in fact, if we think it is exactly that. For years, crafts profession have been just forgotten, or they were not considered as professions of excellence. And now we lost a generation, an entire generation. So now we have to, what we recommend in Craft Tour is to start engaging young people at an early stage, bring back children to negotiate with material, use their hands, repeat gestures, learn the slow gesture of transforming material from the very, very early age. And then even after, to have much more valorization, and to engage them in understanding the interconnection of these professions with the world that is around them, because they don't make it tangible in their mind, that when they go around, they cross a street, they see woodworkers, they see stone workers, they see glass workers, but this is something that is completely, they don't realize. So we need them to understand who did this, that we need to put a narrative, and so they will understand the importance of these professions, the impact on their own ecosystem and on sustainability, and they will realize that there is employment, there is a self-accomplishment, and there is a lot to do in this. So it's a very, very big challenge that is not a unique challenge. It's a challenge that is gathering many other sub-challenges, because you have to educate the society, you have to educate the adults, the parents who want children to go to university. You have to also create pedagogical methodologies, put this in the school. In France, there are initiatives where crafts are taught in mathematics, in history, because it is, everything is related. You cannot build a wall if you don't measure it. So this goes with mathematics. You cannot understand a building if you don't have historical knowledge, or if you have. So all this is related. So they should also be back in schools to interact with other disciplines, so that it would become an evidence that crafts are part of life and of our life.
And an option for a career, I guess.
And absolutely an option, absolutely.
And I think it needs to be an option in like the discussion between like craft work and something that happens in a university. There are, and around Europe and around the world, there are some university courses and degrees that are very highly specialized in craft, and those exist, but those programs are increasingly under threat and very inaccessible for the vast majority of people. I mean, I read just this week about a fine furniture degree course being completely shuttered. They fired the last professor. I think it was in Victoria in Australia. I don't want to quote exactly. But these things are disappearing still at an accelerated rate. The more that they're seen, the more that it's actually an option. When it's an option when you're choosing a university course, that instills, at least it would have for me as a teenager, well, if this is an option now at this point in my life where I'm forced to make this decision, therefore it's an option for the rest of my life.
There's another very, very important point, is that once we've done this work of engaging young generation, etc., where can they learn the crafts? There are no more schools, or very few of them, and many skills you will never find them in the schools. You can only find them in the workshops. So what is called non-formal education is very, very important in crafts. It's even urgent to save it, to valorize it, and to certify it also. Because what happens is that because there is no certification, no understanding of this non-formal education, young people are not attracted by it. So there must be recognition of how it has been for centuries, of the importance of learning in the workshops with the masters, because the secrets are there. The real secrets are there. You can learn general skills in schools, but if you want to go beyond this, it's happening in the workshops. And so it's urgent to do it before they close.
Yes. Yeah, and then once you teach, an apprentice or, somebody who wants to get into craft as a career, the skill, I mean, I guess you also have to teach them how to run a business, because the big theme of today was taking craft out of the cultural realm and more into the industry realm, more into the economic realm.
So this is something that we are monitoring, because there are, again, many systems all over Europe. There are some interesting in France. First, we have to address one very important point, is what is the pedagogical skill of the master? Because this is also important. They learn how to teach for centuries, but now they're not supposed to teach anymore, because they just do their job. So also in terms of transmission, they used to have apprentices at 12 years old or even earlier in the workshops. Now it's impossible. So they have adults in front of them. It's not the same relationship. It's not, you don't go with the time that is required. And new apprentices, they want to learn fast. It's a different way of learning. It's not by repeating gestures. So there is also a need to help masters in their pedagogical approach. Which is not enough, as you mentioned, because there is also a part of business development, marketing, etc. There are some organizations, and in this regard, I would really like to mention a very nice example, IRMAC in France. It's the region Rhône-Alpes. They developed quality manual for curricula, where there is they address the feasibility of the businesses in which they are training young people or apprentices. So their work is based on 45%, much more. It's three weeks a month, I think, practice. They have 1 week theory. it's on 1 year, and they also have transversal session where they can exchange, etc. And all this goes through a methodology that is really interesting. I cannot explain everything here, but this quality manual, I had the opportunity to read it. It's really very, very interesting. The masters are all qualified. They have this French label of qualification, and but this is the only place. We don't have this in other countries.
Yeah, and then.
I think, sorry to interrupt you, but I think in terms of policy, it would be very, very, very crucial to have some fundings to help this kind of support because, well, as you mentioned, you do everything within your enterprise. I mean, it's a kind of the ship with 5 feet, as we say in French, you know, and it's very complicated. Sometimes they get lost in manufacturing the product and doing the commercial, the management, etc., etc. So I think among the tools, and I think this is one of recommendation we find in some reports, that we need some practical financial tools and practical tools that will help also the micro enterprises in the craft sector.
Yeah, for sure. And then, I mean, to go back to Madina's point, but on the business model, on the branding, on the the visibility of your product. I mean, maybe Audrey, you can talk a bit about how difficult that might be, and maybe on the CIGI stuff, how that might assist in that aspect. To have a proper logo, to have a proper ownership, I guess, of the product that you're creating.
Yes, I mean, geographical indication is a special quality sign and collective quality sign that has been recognized by the EU some months ago, and it's well, among the branding tools, it's not an individual tool, it's a collective tool. So it has to be developed around a community of producers that will accept sharing views, sharing strategy, sharing the practices, which is sometimes not very, very easy when there are some conflicts because you are working with competitors. So you need to find a good balance between them. And I mean that at this stage and at with the French experience, we have different types of implementation of this tool. We have a logo. We cannot use the European logo, we have a logo which is a footprint. Which is the national GI logo. Some of the GIs have used it and are still using it on the labeling, on the institutional communication tool. However, not all of them are using it because when you are in the luxury sector, they have their own brands, and most of the time big brands. And well, we know it's Porcelaine de Limoges, but the brands will not use the logo. They will still use their own brands, because behind the brands, the people know that it's Porcelaine de Limoges or it is Siège de Lifol. So I mean that in terms of branding, it's a good way of promoting the collective regional heritage and products. I mean, in terms of territorial branding and having enterprises all together, stimulating the economical, the regional economy, maintaining enterprises, relocating enterprises. This is very strong. At this level, I cannot say that the branding in the products is really effective. Right. However, in terms of legal protection, well, we know that with this tool we can get rid of all the misuses in the market. I mean, in the French market.
Yeah.
I think, on this regard, just very quickly, I think it's very important to educate consumers, because this is the best way to push them to buy the right thing.
Yes.
With a label, without a label, because as Audrey said, you cannot protect with GI unique cross people, but you can put a narrative behind the product, and you can raise awareness among the consumers. So maybe.
Yeah, and then like to go to Audrey's point, that's the reason that Cynthia sees this as such a vital project to promote, like for our office, why we're putting manpower in it, why we're putting our time and hosting you guys today, is because it is an option for regional development. It's an opportunity and a resource for employment. It goes towards the right to remain and to help communities to have a sense of ownership over themselves and to be proud in their local area and their local products that they produce themselves.
Yes.
And I also think CIGI is a great example of the Commission finally taking some ownership and responsibility and some initiative on promoting the craft sector. I mean, because they put forward the proposal a couple of years ago to the Parliament, and then the Parliament MEPs were able to work on it and to work with this sector. And then, I mean, do you see them continuing this momentum? I mean, with the Craftware project, the Commission, the EU institutions open to it, do you think? I mean, the Parliament certainly is, through Cynthia.
I mean, we would like to be here every month, of course.
And I would love to have you.
But so we are working hard. As you can see, we did a lot in 1 year.
Yeah.
Now the partners are willing to continue. Many other, I announced this, would like to join Craftware. We know there is a lot to do. Madina Europe is coordinating this. It's really hard because it's a big thing. Maybe we need a bit of support from our partners for the coordination. But yeah, we think there is a lot to do. A lot. Well, no, we have to continue. We will find new ways for funding and new ways for improving research is very important here. We need data, we need information from the sector, but we also need solutions. So we need also people from the scientific sector. We need people, and as I said, we need the bottom-up information from the craft sector. And the craft sector, we cannot consider only France. Italy, we have 27 countries. And sometimes we also consider it in a larger way because, for example, we've shown now also Ukrainian products that have to be protected. And so we cannot reach all these regions. So the work is long. But we believe that maybe with the help, it's fantastic for us to be here today. So if maybe this is bringing to other opportunities. We made this, maybe we can make more.
Step by step.
Yes.
I mean that we start with something.
Yeah.
We collect the data, but the point is to have at the end a horizontal vision. Holistic vision of the craft, not only being in the culture, being an IP tool, but being a real economy and attractiveness for our regional economies. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, and a driver of European competitiveness as well.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you guys so much for being here today, for coming and speaking to everybody in the European Parliament. And Cynthia was absolutely delighted to have you, and we'll definitely, hopefully, get you back very soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Emily and Cynthia, thank you very much for having us here.